Welcome, class. For once, it seems I'm here before anyone else. That's actually because I had something to set up before this. Today's file, though, is SCP-6448, aka not deer. Also, we have our first usage of the ACS, or the Anomaly Classification System. And I just want to hand over a document explaining that to you all before we proceed. You'll find that document under your chair. Alright, we good? Y'all read it and understand it? Okay, good. Let's proceed. Item number SCP-6448. Containment class Keter. Disruption class Kennick. Risk class Warning. Special containment procedures. Containment of SCP-6448 should be focused on investigation of deer exhibiting anomalous traits within and around the Appalachian area. All civilian sightings of SCP-6448 should be attended to by Mobile Task Force Gamma-4, or hereby known as the Green Stags. Possible deaths resulting from 6448 should be attributed to hiking incidents, and sightings are to be blamed upon chronic wasting disease. Isn't that the one that Train to Busan is based off of? Fuck, doesn't matter. Anyway, as I was saying, the Site-44 Cryptozoology Division is tasked with ongoing research into the not deer phenomenon. Should an SCP instance be captured, it is to be brought to Site-44 for containment and study. Description: SCP-6448 is an anomalous branch of the Cervidae family. All members of this group display heightened intelligence and presumed to be sapient. Many specimens exhibit some form of physical malformation, causing them to stand out from a non-anomalous deer. While the exact details of physical abnormalities differ between instances, repeated commonalities are as follows: legs being bent backwards, being barrel-chested or having a bloated abdomen, emaciation, eyes belonging to unrelated animals, forward-facing eyes, jerky movements, loss of fear towards humans, tendency to walk on two hind legs, general bodily disfigurement. Jesus, it's the Skyrim horses all over again. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Aside from physical disfigurement, instances show severe divergence from the behavior of other cervids. Namely, SCP-6448 are known to watch and observe and stalk humans, often for hours or even days. This includes following humans to and from their homes, wherein they'll proceed to steal belongings, weapons, and food. Very rarely will they attack victims while they're indoors. SCP-6448 are most commonly encountered in the deep woodland, particularly at night or dusk, when a person is alone. Any form of direct acknowledgement of SCP-6448's anomalous traits in these situations will always result in the victim's termination. In such situations, personnel are to observe the extract of the service protocol attached to this file immediately. This following part is written from our friends over at the Cryptozoology Division. These actions should be carried out by anyone inadvertently interacting with SCP-6448 and are necessary for your survival. Please skip to the section with relevant information if your life is under threat. If you notice a deer seems off, look away and ignore it. If it knows you've noticed it, it's too late. If you hear your name, whistling, or something else in the woods calling for you, don't acknowledge it. Never acknowledge it exists. Don't respond. Don't go looking for it. Don't call back to it. If you're walking at night and you feel something breathing on your neck or whispering behind you, the key to your safety is pretending that everything is normal. Your survival is dependent on your ignorance. SCP-6448 was known to inhabit only the Appalachian region of North America. However, due to Incident 6448-Alpha, this is under review. History: SCP-6448 was officially assigned anomalous classification in 1980, though they have been recognized by local people since 1947. SCP-6448 is a firmly cemented figure in Appalachian folklore, known colloquially as the not deer, due to their striking similarity to the species they imitate. Many locals claim to have encountered instances of 6448, or possess knowledge of an individual who has. A majority of local communities living in rural areas of high activity are aware of the precautions required to avoid a hostile encounter, primarily due to urban legends and stories involving entities. Previously, SCP-6448 were researched at Site-41, located in North Carolina. However, on the 1st of November, 1994, a group of 3 instances broke into the site utilizing a tunnel system carved over an extended period of time. This triggered containment breach alarm systems, and the site entered lockdown protocol. The single instance kept in containment, being prepared for dissection, was lost in the breach and not recovered. Over the following decade, a further 5 instances would be captured and contained, all of which would escape the tunnels carved by other entities. The decision was made to transfer all instances to Site-44 overseas to prevent further breaches. This next bit was crossed out. Since this decision, no capture attempts have been successful. I believe we call that hubris in some places. Addendum 6448.1 Recently recorded civilian encounters. The first reports of SCP-6448 surfaced around the week of July 7, 1947. In the time of the genus discovery, many members of the public have encountered the entities, though most accidentally stumbling upon them do not alert local authorities. This is typically due to the instance either merely watching the subject or becoming hostile. The following is a log of all recorded 911 calls related to the SCP-6448 phenomenon since the year 2000. Date: 2nd of January 2000. Victim, aged 41 female, dialed emergency services after hearing their name being called from the woods near their home. The victim recounts the vocalization being likened to a scream in a voice they don't recognize and requested assistance in locating the source. Emergency personnel requested the subject place their phone on the floor outside the house to listen for the alleged sounds. After 2 minutes, a vocalization was heard, calling the subject by name, emanating from the nearby forest. The subject was instructed to investigate the disturbance by themselves and keep services up to date on the situation. The victim then begins to walk into the woodland, getting about 50 meters into the underbrush before inexplicably stopping. They claim there is a noticeably large deer standing in the way of the path. She begins to walk closer, though states it does not move. The subject diverts from the path and begins walking a different direction. After 30 minutes, no source of the voice is determined. The caller returns to their residence. God, whoever was that 911 operator is a fucking idiot. Date: 13th of June, 2002. Victim, age 28, male. Calls 911 regarding a home break-in. The caller notes numerous items to be missing from their residence and requests an investigation. Operators dispatch 2 investigators to visit the home and discern a potential perpetrator. The pair note that based on earlier CCTV images, all cutlery, sharp objects, firearms, light bulbs, and a single copy of the novel The Day After Roswell are missing. Also noted is the fact there's a complete lack of fingerprints at the scene, no windows or doors having been broken into. Analysis of the home's CCTV footage revealed to be 2 hours of missing film, with the exception of a single frame containing a cervus and a pone, otherwise known as a Sika deer, on its hind legs, reaching towards the camera, its frontal hooves having been warped to resemble fingers. No footage of the entity exiting the house was ever discovered. Date: 19th of November, 2005. A cattle farmer, aged 54 male, reported to local authorities the sudden disappearance of over 30% of his largest herd. Response teams searched the area for 4 hours, though found no trace of the cattle. The victim was recommended to set up trail cameras and note unusual activity overnight. At 1:11 a.m., 2 instances are seen walking through the field before fleeing. One places an object onto the ground, later discovered to be a single fork. A week later after discovery, 200 discarded bovine hooves appear at the location. Date: 4th of March, 2009. Victim, age unknown and gender unknown, dials 911 to request assistance from animal services. The victim is stood within a forest in front of a service elopis, also known as a red deer, which is violently contorting. The animal is repeatedly ramming itself into a tree, covered in blood and viscera. The victim begins to state,
"You'd better go get a vet or something. I don't think it's well at all,"
before a piercing screech is heard, and the line falls silent. Recovered footage depicts an aforementioned animal squirming, seemingly in pain. A viscous churning is audible as a black mass erupts out of the instance and the video turns to static. Date: 11th of October, 2012. Victim, age 23 male, is a junior wildlife officer at the Cherokee National Forest in Tennessee. They radio the supervisor in the early evening regarding a herd of Odocoleus virginianus, otherwise known as the white-tailed deer, within the reserve. Supposedly, there is a single animal that upon first glance appears average, though it possesses divergent attributes, including backwards joints, an enlarged abdomen, and forward-facing eyes. Upon stating this, a distant whistle is audible, and the victim stumbles slightly. They begin to say,
"What the hell? Did it just whistle at me?"
before the sound of hooves rapidly getting closer is heard. Notably, the hoofsteps don't seem to be in the traditional gallop of a cervid. Date: 8th of April, 2016. Victim, age 35 female, dials 911 using a satellite phone. Distressed. They state they're in county woods and are being followed. She claims that despite not seeing anyone for the duration of her hike, she feels as if she's being watched, and has heard someone walking behind her at various points in the trip. The victim's unable to give an adequate description of her location, but knows a route to return to her residence. The operators request the victim to return to a point where she can provide sufficient geographic data on her position. The victim remains on the line for the duration of the hike back to a readily used portion of the wilderness trail. Along the journey, various unnatural noises could be heard. These include footsteps, rock slides, coughing, whispering, whistling. Nearing the main trail, all woodland noises such as birds and wind cease suddenly, and the victim states she can see a malformed deer carcass coated in a thick layer of black slime. At this time, human screams can be heard in the distance. Operators request the victim to continue and ignore other stimuli. Agents embedded in local law enforcement suspect SCP-6448 involvement. They notify Gamma 4 of the situation. 20 minutes later, the victim returns to the main trail. Gamma 4, now operating 911 call, informed the victim to not respond to any further unusual activity and briefly outline a service protocol. For the duration of the victim journey home, 2 sets of breathing are audible. The victim successfully returns to her residence and shuts the door behind her. Now out of sight from SCP-6448, agents inquire upon the victim's address, and the victim promptly complies. Operatives instruct the victim to have possession of all firearms and weapons on the premises and to barricade herself inside a safe space, with only one exfil point. The victim begins grabbing all available weapons and throwing them inside a wardrobe. It is at this time there's a knock on the front door. The victim does not respond and continues to hoard sharp objects from the kitchen drawers. The knocking only becomes more violent as the handle is jostled and shaken incessantly. A voice on the other side repeats the phrase,
"Hello? It's me. Hello? Let me in, please."
in a calm manner as the door begins to shake. The victim retreats to her wardrobe, armed with a small firearm. Upon sealing herself in the space, the knocking ceases and footsteps can be heard, decreasing in volume. The sound of galloping is heard as the front door caves in. Hoofsteps can now be heard inside the home. The entity continues to repeat,
"Hello? It's me. Hello? Let me in."
as it searches the small building. A bright light flashes overhead, seemingly encircling the house. Eventually, the entity enters the victim's bedroom. Through a small slit in the wardrobe door, the victim can see a Cervus canadensis, or an elk, standing on its hind legs and surveying the room. Its movements are crooked and stiff, seeming to struggle to stand in a bipedal fashion. It slouches down in a quadrupedal crouch, similar to the stance of an arachnid. It inhales heavily, and its head locks on the view of the wardrobe. It is noted as possessing human eyes. It scampers towards the subject and opens the door. A single gunshot is heard, and responders found no trace of either the victim or SCP-6448. It should be noted that this represents a small fraction of human to SCP-6448 encounters, as the majority of occasions go unnoticed or undocumented. On each of these encounters, all associated video, photographs, and objects were confiscated by MTF Gamma 4, whom also called off public investigation. Cover stories 356 Alpha, Home Break-In, and 898 Lambda, Missing 411, were successfully implemented. Addendum 6448-2, Incident 6448-Alpha. On the 29th of November, MTF Gamma 4, Green Stags, successfully detained and captured an instance of SCP-6448. With the assistance of MTF Nu 7, Hammer Down's Heavy Vehicle Division, and highly experimental shock rifles. The resulting skirmish left a single instance unconscious, which was swiftly placed aboard an armored Chinook helicopter en route to Site 44 in England, to prevent any outside assistance. Upon reaching the site, the entity was transferred to a containment zone without issue. The following is a log of events thereafter. Begin log. SCP-6448 instance is contained within a large, heavy reinforced containment cell, having just awoken from heavy sedation. Cryptozoology specialist F. Oz stands in front of a large one-way glass window that encompasses the room's south side.
Greetings, SCP-6448.
The instance suddenly bolts upright and stares at the intercom.
Can you understand me? We've seen your genus speak English just fine in the past.
The instance does not respond. It begins licking its own arm.
Please, 6448, we know your secret.
The instance pauses.
Admittedly, it wasn't exactly a well-kept secret. If you just looked at yourself for more than a few seconds, I mean, it's very clear you're not normal.
The instance is stood facing away from the window. Its neck swivels 180 degrees, visibly breaking multiple vertebrae, as is an audible crack. It does not blink.
Hey, I thought you said this was a one-way. It is?
The instance's gaze remains locked on Researcher Oz.
Are you something imitating a deer? It is clear that, if so, you possess basic anatomical knowledge on them, though details are faulty. In fact, a better question would be, how? Assuming you are not what you pretend to be.
The instance opens its mouth, which contains abnormally sharp teeth. Its jaw moves in a manner that seems to imitate speech, but no intelligible dialect is heard. Rather, a sound, somewhat of gagging or choking, is audible.
Shall we move on? I'm more concerned with here is why you take our people. It is to settle a vendetta? For food? Spite?
The instance blinks for the first time in the interview. The movement is noticeably forced.
Responding is mandatory.
The instance shows no reaction.
If you will not comply, maybe you'd like to see your brand new containment cell. Research.
The instance speaks in a distorted version of Oz's own voice.
Research? What kind of July 7, 1947?
The instance suddenly rams the 20-inch thick one-way glass, cracking it slightly, causing Researcher Oz to stumble backwards. The instance then begins to collapse, contorting violently and screaming. Its abdomen bulges and writhes.
Get the stags in here now!
A black, viscous, tendrily mass erupts out of the instance's side. It leaps and squirms around the cell before shattering the viewing window. The remaining carcass is entirely hollow. The tendrilous mass swiftly maneuvers outside of Sector 4 in seconds, clearing the lockdown area. It travels in the direction of the main exit. The mass easily clears the main desk, shattering the glass in the front exit and disappearing into the outside shrubbery. End log. A 2-month-long search proved inefficient in locating the escaped anomaly. Additionally, since this incident, there have been an unprecedented increase of chronic wasting disease inflicted deer and UFO reporting in the area surrounding Site-44. Further research is still ongoing. Well, that's the file. But don't think you're out of the woods yet. We're going to have a little bit of a group discussion here about what happened, what could have gone differently if you were in charge, and methods you would have in place to prevent something like this from happening in the first place. Hey guys, it's me, Doc. If I could implore you to please stick around for a little bit longer, I have some important things to tell you. First, I want to thank you for watching the video, for as long as it is. It's our longest one so far. But also, as you probably heard, we had 2 guest stars on this video. The first one is a close friend named Ghost. If you want more of his stuff, it'll be in the description down below. You'll also be hearing him more often, at least I'm pretty sure you will, as he seems to want to continue doing stuff with this channel, so you'll probably be hearing more from him in later videos. And for the second one is another friend named Steve. He will not have anything in the description, as I already asked him if he wanted a shoutout or anything in the description, and he politely declined. So unfortunately, you probably won't be seeing anything in the description for him, unfortunately. Oh, and we also have some bloopers. I don't usually do those, but we have some funny ones here. I figured I should share them. Here you go.
On God, I thought you'd be deserving of my luscious voice, but here you come complaining to me with your dry-ass lips. Heads or tails? A tossed coin. A metaphor for the uncertainty of life. Of course, the wise player always cheats. Please pay attention. You will be happy to know you are the victim of a robbery. You will not be harmed. We will take the bank's money. Your money are insured by the federal government. Please consider your loved ones. Remain calm and quiet, and your survival is assured.
An analysis of the home's CCTV... I'm gonna fucking kill someone. And now, what the fuck was that?